I'm still in Lesotho. The van stopped for the night, and I was able to get a room at a farm workers hostel with a German backpacker.
Do you know a sport called handball?
Headball?
Handball.
Handball.
Handball, do you know it?
Yeah. Do you play headball?
Hand.
Yeah, but do you play headball?
Oh, that's handball.
Okay, handball. Yeah,
handball,
that's
yeah.
good.
'Cause
He told me that he'd been on his way to a handball tournament in Durban. 3 men formed a circle around him and, without speaking, rifled his pockets.
Yeah, you let them pat you down?
yeah, because I want to risk nothing, you know.
But here's my question. Did you play handball after you were robbed?
I didn't play handball after I was robbed.
All thoughts of slapping the ball against the wall just were completely out the window.
Yeah.
You let the criminals win, basically.
There is no game. If I don't feel like doing some handball thing afterwards, I don't do it. I don't do what I want to do.
You know, speaking of handball, this room would actually be good for handball.
I think you have another understanding of handball. It's European handball. It was 10 players and 2 goals.
Oh, really? It's not just...
It's not squash, yeah, it's American handball.
Well, this room would be good for squash. And probably the thing it would be worse for is for sleeping in. That's probably the thing that this room is.
I began my search for a boat to Madagascar in earnest. I spent the day at the harbor, but didn't really try very hard. It seems to me that the best place to catch a ride will be in Mozambique, where the distance to Madagascar is least.
I mean, it's a funny situation in a hostel. I mean, you kind of get to know people, but it's just constantly rotating.
Yeah.
The dynamic is constantly shifting, I imagine, between really fun and kind of lame.
Yeah, you get guys here that's quite interesting, and then you get guys that just wish the guy will go because it's so boring.
You know, I've met some fascinating people here. I've taken some people out. They've actually taken me out. We went to this cool runnings, and there was such a cultural difference. And there were white people there, which made me feel comfortable. Just, no offense to the blacks, but a black-infested place, you don't know if you're going to come out alive.
Really?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
You sure? That seems a little harsh, black-infested.
No, black-infested is because the majority of them are very rough and tough, and they will take you to task.
You think?
Yeah. There's plenty of crime. It's one of the worst places in the world of crime.
Do you think that, or...?
I know that. I don't think that. Things like my brother was mugged very badly.
He was mugged?
Mugged.
That's pretty amazing.
And this was a knife stuck left in my head.
And how long did it take you to recuperate?
Oh, me, by the grace of my Heavenly Father, a day and a half.
Are you kidding? I thought you had some kind of language. Had to do some kind of language.
I had to go for speech therapy because of this. It deterred my speech. If I speak fast, my words don't come out fluent.
Wow.
So I went for about 30 or 40 sessions, and I said, I'm tired of going for therapy, and I'll just leave it in God's hands.
I'm formulating a theory of disproportionate fear to try to rationalize my optimism in the face of an onslaught of South African crime anecdotes.
Every half an hour to an hour, one person gets killed in South Africa, murdered.
It goes like this. When people talk to each other, they talk about extraordinary things rather than ordinary ones. And when people ask me about what happened on my trip, for example, I won't tell them that I waited for a van that never came, even though that happened many, many times. I'll tell them about the guy with the knife in his head. So, whereas a fair representation of my trip so far might look like this, the graph of what anecdotes I'll actually relate will look like this. And if I tell 10 people about the knife in the head guy, and they in turn tell a few people that they know a guy who met a guy who was knifed in the head, then you have an anecdote being repeated potentially hundreds of times regarding an event that occurred only once.
I get the impression that the fear magnifies the threat larger than it actually is. But you say
No.
You say
No.
Practically everyone I've talked to is convinced, for example, that the upcoming 2010 World Cup is going to be a bloodbath.
It's going to be such a influx of crime at that point in time.
Whenever a city has the Olympics or something, they clean it. They work on their infrastructure.
This they can't clean it right now.
They seem so certain, in fact, that I'm inclined to think that this isn't something that they're worried about, but that they want, for some reason.
And when something good even happens, when something good, let's say they score something, they are not going to get happy like you and I are going to be thrilled and happy and joyous. They are going to destroy the cars of people because they are so happy.
Yeah, the hooligans.
Yeah, like...
I hope to see some of that today.
There's a circle there.
Oh, then go further.
No, man, come on, be serious now, man. He says he saw a sign showing this way here.
There was a sign that said Sharks Board.
Okay, we
I didn't know you could do that.
reverse?
On the highway.
Oh, well, in this country you drive the center of roads, okay.
I watched the visitors, Manchester United, beat the hell out of the local team. So the crowd never really got happy enough to destroy any cars or people. But Jay was unimpressed.
For nothing, just running about aimlessly trying to put that ball in to that goalkeeper. It's just a ball, and you're getting carried away over a ball, running wild and running and getting, and the excitement they get from it. I just don't feel it. I don't feel it. It's so insignificant. There's so many more significant things in life, to do. I feel that.
There's not a lot at stake.
Yeah, there's not a lot at stake. Yeah, I get you. That is why this country is so fanatical.
Absent-minded, so
Any luck with the boat?
No.
just my backpack was very, very close to me, but it was behind me. So it was just a matter of seconds when someone snapped it.
What was in your backpack?
It was funny because I was on the beach and I put the lower part of my swimming suit, but I didn't put the upper part because it was a little bit windy. So I regret it very much that I didn't put the upper part of my swimming suit because I would have it.
You should go back and leave your bottom on the beach.
Yes, I
Walk on the beach and see who's got your top on. You're the first person I know that's had anything happened to them in South Africa. Because everyone, like when we were in Cape Town, everyone was like, oh, don't go here, don't do that, something will happen. Oh, you should be careful, you shouldn't walk here. And no one actually knew a single person that had ever had anything stolen, or they were just like, oh, you shouldn't do this, you're white, you've got to be careful. Yet no one actually knew anyone that had been mugged or anything. You're the first person I know that's had been mugged in South Africa.
These guys who run this place will warn you, you can't go here, you can't go there, because Jay, who sits in the lobby, gives them a piece of his taxi fares.
Really?
Yes.
Jay did tell me about the kickback, but I shouldn't spread conspiracy theories. Maybe it is a coincidence that the warnings of the staff dovetail perfectly with their economic interests.
In Cape Town, everyone was just made you frightened, so you weren't enjoying yourself. You were just constantly like, why did I come here? What's going on? I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. And once you actually relaxed into it, it was so much more fun, and that's just really bad.
No, I know, you travel with a cloud of fear hanging over your head.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to an actual South African about this stuff, so I went to see a yachtsman I'd met at the harbor.
Were you in the Hitler Youth?
Oh, of course, everybody from 10 years on was in Hitler Youth, except the Jewish children. And it's funny enough, when we were sort of reporting to be recruited at the office, and there were these couple of boys there, our school classmates, that were not accepted, they were rejected. And we cried with them because we couldn't understand why bloody hell they should be rejected, because we went to the same school, we were pals.
That's because they were Jewish. And you had no idea.
Hans was German, it turned out, but he'd been 50 years in the country, having arrived after the war.
I don't make a living in Germany, and then came the advert in the paper, if you're willing to work and capable of organizing others at work, come to the South African gold mines. And my mother said, I think you must consider this.
He emigrated at a pivotal point in South African history. The Boers, the descendants of the original Dutch settlers, had just come to power and implemented a system of strict racial segregation called apartheid. South Africa, like most countries, had always been segregated, but then, instead of gradually integrating, like the US, the tiny white minority dug in.
Did you know anything about South Africa?
Nothing.
See,
Except, this is interesting actually, in school, primary school, our teacher said, look boys, you must be more inventive, you must not live a life straight down the line and just don't look left and right. Talk some shit, make some fun of life. Somehow that inspired me. I wanted to go to South Africa. And, yeah.
And how does it compare?
Well, of course it's different from a dreamland.
Given his attitude, I hoped that Hans would back me up about how the danger in South Africa was exaggerated. So I told him about my trip to date.
How did you travel?
In the Quilla. In the taxi.
You were lucky that you were not robbed.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Hey, there's something that I've totally forgotten to write down so far. I keep finding Titanic playing cards in the dirt. And I don't mean that I found one or two near one another. I mean, I found 5 in different parts of Lesotho and South Africa.
I've been tackled 12 times, I told you that.
Yeah.
Did I tell you any details?
No.
One was 2 buildings next door.
Right over here by the harbor.
At the harbor entrance, 2 of my friends got killed there.
That's where we walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just previously, not so long ago, I could go to the beach, walk there, I can't do it anymore. And there come 8 people, youngsters, students, well dressed, come straight at me. They make a half circle, they just clap hands and there they turn around. And immediately I saw the guy next to me with a knife in his hand. I grabbed his arm, pulled him off balance, kicked him in the balls, kicked him in the stomach, hit him in the face and threw him off. And the others just stood there, didn't do anything. Another time...
How old were you? How old were you?
It was last year.
have a hard time squaring my own experience with what everyone tells me. I walk everywhere, day or night, and haven't had problems. And I see a lot of other people who seem just as comfortable on the streets.
Have you taken off your shirt to get a ride?
Yeah.
Does it help?
I don't know.
Good luck.
Having said that, it would be absurd to dismiss the testimony of people who've been here so much longer than I have. So, assuming for the sake of argument that what I'm hearing is true, what explanation can there be for why I haven't been victimized? The anthill hypothesis. By walking freely into cities and villages, I am catching the murderers in their homes and off their guard. I am like a foreign insect that wanders into an anthill for whom no chemical alert has been given. The musical amulet hypothesis. I carry a ukulele. No one attacks a person carrying a musical instrument. The sleepwalker hypothesis. I am indeed traveling through the criminal hot zone that everyone says it is. By pure luck, however, I've avoided every danger, like a sleepwalker successfully crossing a busy highway, also known as the minefield hypothesis. The ghost hypothesis. I have been attacked and killed, but just haven't realized I'm dead yet. The this is getting insulting hypothesis. I look like a poor slob with nothing worth stealing, even in some of the world's most impoverished places. Or the give it time hypothesis. I too will be attacked 12 times if I stay long enough. Crime is bad because people are still poor. Because as much as conditions have improved politically, little has changed economically.
And all the shops moved out of central Durban and moved up to Omslanga Ridge. And the rich people, of course, could also move there, and we sit here. There's nothing left here. If you go to Woolworths here, it's basically they just cater for the blacks. They're not catering for whites anymore.
The whites were always in a minority, right? They were always 5-10%
sure.
of the population. How could they cater to the whites?
Well, there were only whites living here, actually.
How can that be, given that 90% of the population is black? There were really only whites in...
No, there were no blacks around here.
That's what took me a long time to figure out. How, if blacks made up 80% of the population, could Durban be largely white? The answer is that they were forcibly removed to what were euphemistically called their homelands. The majority population was restricted to what amounted to 13% of the land. Calling them citizens of their homelands also allowed the government to revoke their South African citizenship. They could work and live in South Africa only with a pass, which had the effect of making the majority population a huge, dirt-cheap immigrant labor force. And so I can't help but think when people complain about how bad things are getting, what they really mean is that they've lost their former disproportionate privileges. Do you shop here, though?
Designer clothes, rather than wearing.
Because I wear second-hand, so it's pre-worn.
As long as you cover the body, it's fine. Yeah, that's what I believe in. Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm okay. Where you get this person from?
I found him at the marina.
This is Joshua. This is wearing suits. Every poster from ID is the one.
Oh.
Guess he's still working.
Okay. Ufuna lana one day. Ngifuna ifone mfethu. Which one? Really?
That's not you, is it?
This me.
What are you wearing?
I can't even explain this thing.
It's also busy.
Your friends?
Yeah, this is my friend. We used to work together. We used to work together and he left, he went for Ackermans.
Yes.
I used to come every day and see him there, but he never used to come past and see me. That's the kind of friend he is.
Where did you work together?
Huh?
Where did you work together?
Together, we worked for Ideals. Where this guy used to model.
You all work together?
Yeah.
But where he used to model?
Yeah, where this guy used to model.
What do you think of his modeling career?
It's going places. He's got the taste, he's got the looks, I mean, he's got the body.
Thank you for the compliment.
Guys,
What's going on?
How you doing?
What's going on?
Sorry. How's things?
How are
Yeah.
you?
Yes.
Good, thanks.
I don't believe we met.
No.
introduction. You met through the posters.
Oh,
That's
the
what she said.
posters.
So
You
when I-
staring at
I
us.
did.
And me saying, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Are you off?
Yeah, I'm off now. I need to say
Okay.
goodbye to my two ladies right there.
Maybe she knows him from a poster?
Oh yeah, I did posters. So maybe knows him from that.
Why do you keep seeing girls that you know? They don't know you from posters, do they?
No, I used to work with a friend.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright. So now she sort of like recognized me as I was walking by.
Oh yeah.
Is that Joshua? Yeah, it's he.
I've heard so much barely concealed resentment from white South Africans that I wanted to know if they'd felt it or reciprocated it.
I actually used to work with white folks a couple of years back. Even in the last 3 months, I was working in La Lucia. They're actually predominant white, should I say, more. And we just friendly towards everybody. Besides, it was actually a customer-based type of a job.
And
so I cannot really make much.
No complaints whatsoever.
No, not at all.
I don't know if I could be as magnanimous if I were in their position, but then they were too young to have experienced apartheid firsthand. I met some other guys who were also too young, but had studied the history at university. And if it were me, I think I'd be more like them. I'd be the type who called every white person Mike.
I'm not even on the fucking picture. Hey, what's up?
Oh.
It's me and Mikey.
You want to tell me guys? Why don't you tell why you call me Mike?
Mike. No reason he's Mike. You don't know why. Because every white person says
Okay,
Mike.
you guys, I'm like the dumbering.
It was Mike. Hey, Mike. Mike Riley.
This relationship of black and white to me is nothing new, because on the mines the relationship was 60-1. So it's nothing new to me if the street is black and I'm the only white one wandering around there. And I know exactly what they mean and what they say.
Because they were all,
When they say it.
all the workers were black, and all the management was white.
You can't go to Germany and take somebody from the farm and make him a manager of a mine. Doesn't work.
Well, you came from Germany, you worked on the farm, you became the manager of the mine.
Yeah, well, don't forget, I've got high school training. And I've got years of culture from Germany, from my parents, which these guys haven't got. Well, we won't solve this.
It's about time anyway that I get to Mozambique to find my boat. Before leaving South Africa though, I want to stop by the Kruger National Park to see some of the big animals. I rented a car in Nelspruit to drive through the park, but it doesn't seem right that on the basis of a crumpled interim California driver's license, I can rent a right-hand drive car and be expected to navigate roads where at any given moment I'm seized with the urge to swerve into oncoming traffic. I stopped for the night at a hotel outside the park with a huge aviary. But I spent so much time videotaping birds that my camera battery was dead by the time I met the owner, who insisted I be his guest in the hotel bar. "I'm not really a drinker," I said. "Then we must find a drink that you like," he said, and he handed me over to the bartender Pixie, who started at A and began working her way through the drink alphabet. Partway through B, I'd come out of my shell and was made to stand on the bar and kiss the buffalo head. I know this really happened because I later found a certificate to that effect in my pocket. Also, there was a reporter in the bar, and my picture later appeared in the local newspaper. At some point, the door swung open and a group of huge boer hunters came in. The first thing one of them said to me was, "I'm sorry, but I've always hated Americans." We later hugged. Another one slapped a shell down on the bar and shouted, "I could write you 300 pages on that shell." At some point, we agreed that I should go buffalo hunting the next day. And then, I don't know if it was adjacent to the bar or in it or what, but I ended up in a hot tub with Pixie. I think she was 6'3", although that may have been an optical illusion caused by the roiling water. And then, almost as soon as I left the bar, I had to meet the Boers at their hunting lodge.
I'm not what's ongeskikt, but I think he's disability, I swear. I can't talk very good English.
Ah, well, it's okay. I'm in your country.
Weinie? Gelijk, né? Ja, fucking lang, wel is lang. Jezus. Daar is raak genoeg. Waar joh. Oh!
Kom maar. Soos jy ouens moet sê, as jy op 'n bubbel skiet, dan voel jy fokol.
Hier, Jeff, kyk hierdie ding se dop. Mooi ryk. Ja. Come.
Do you want to take a shot?
Take a shot.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Give me a smaller gun.
Some of the guys went to look for buffalo, but I went with the ones hunting impala. My natural sympathies lay with the impala, so I felt guilty going with the men trying to kill the impala, but in my defense, the impala didn't invite me.
But the price of the animal is pretty high, isn't it? I mean, if you want a buffalo, say?
Yeah, buffalo, like the big five and so on. But you know, we are looking for impala, I think it's $550.
Have you done impala before?
Yeah. No, just to shoot something, you know. We just actually come along with the guys that shot the buffalo. But maybe if I see a clue, I'll shoot that as well, you know.
Have you done a buffalo?
Nah.
No?
It's too expensive for me.
Yeah, it's $10,000, right?
For the permit and everything, it's about 15,000.
Rand or dollars?
No, rand.
Yeah.
But you know, and that's for a cow. It's not for a bull.
Is that right?
Yeah. The bull it's about 10,000 US.
Goodness. And that's what those guys are going for. They're friends of yours from Free State?
My client.
Oh, really?
And then over the years we become friends as well, you know.
Faunus heads a consortium of potato farmers and suppliers. I think big game hunting might be the Boer equivalent of an executive golf weekend.
Yeah, it is expensive. But you know, we South Africans, we like hunting. It's like in our blood, you know. Like braai and farming, you know, that's what South Africans like to do. Ja.
it was nice of Faunus to let me tag along, so I tried to be quiet. On the other hand, I was trying to figure out how to get some sort of warning to the impala. When Faunus said that farming was in the Boer blood, he wasn't kidding. In fact, Boer is the Dutch word for farmer, and the Boers consider themselves very much in the tradition of the original Dutch settlers. You know, it suddenly occurred to me that this wasn't a safe place for a cow. It's hard to look at photos of the old Boers and not think of American homesteaders. In fact, the history of South Africa reads like a bizarro version of American history. Not long after Europeans settled at Jamestown, some other Europeans founded Cape Town. Both countries were rich in natural resources, fought the British, crossed their land in covered wagons, were God-fearing, and had the same euphemism for segregation, separate but equal. Sometimes I don't know if I'm in South Africa so much as an alternate timeline, in which New York remained New Amsterdam.
The whole time I'm behind him. I haven't seen him.
No.
Now they cross here. Die snik hulle nog eenmaal daarbo, die kuddes. Maar toe moet ek so deur 'n oop stukkie gaan. En daar's nie 'n manier, jy weet, toe ek my tree in 'n oop stukkie sit. Dis daai klop springbokke, groeibokke.
Are there percentages that, you have to have a certain percentage of black employees?
Yeah.
Do you, your company is subject to this as well?
A small company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they unpaid people in our company, so. But they say, like the government offices and so on, must be representative of the demographic of the land, of the country. So there's 70% blacks. Now South Africa, there is 70% of the people are black.
Yeah.
Then there must be 70, your price must be 70% black. And then management as well. And that's the problem. If you want to have a contract with the government for supplying, say, meat to the prisons, something like that.
Right.
Then they also have to have black partners and everything. And the black partner must have the major share, must be the major share.
Right.
Now, that's a big problem, because he's a farmer, he's farmed for 3-4 generations.
Yeah.
And now they have to sell to somebody else 51% of his company.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Even if it's a white guy, why would you do that? Even if it's nephew, why would you? If you don't want to, why do we have to do?
Well, do you think the current white businessmen of South Africa are sort of paying for the mistakes of, the previous generations?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They're paying for the previous system. Let's call that.
Yeah.
Paying for the previous system.
Okay. Where are they? Do you see them?
Assai. Eers 'n bietjie fucking dop drink.
You didn't see anything. This was just a beer break.
Yeah. Till I was about 16 years old. I only knew one English-speaking person.
Really?
That's all.
Yeah.
So I never spoke, said anything in English because I don't have to. So then the TV start and you start to learn some English on the TV, And then we went to Technikon where I study. Yeah. There's some of the profs or whatever the guys that give the classes. They only speak English.
Yeah.
So there's about 2 subjects that I didn't even go and write exams because I've got no fucking clue what happened in the class.
You know what my fuck up is? He's the nearest guy to English person I know. I'm totally fucked.
When you're traveling, it's amazing how often whole groups of people will shift to a language in which they're all uncomfortable for the benefit of one person. It makes me think, 1, that I'm an ass, and 2, that people can be incredibly gracious.
But you know, the Americans, they only speak one language, and this is it's English.
It's true.
Like Janssen, he's speaking the black language fluently.
Yeah.
He's speaking Afrikaans, he's speaking English. Actually, 3 languages.
But yeah, you're right. Americans, they speak English, and English is sort of becoming the second language of the entire world. So you can travel so much without knowing any languages.
But you know how nice is it actually to can speak, or if you can speak more than one language,
Yes.
For your own mind and so on. It's quite amazing.
Yeah.
Stefan is 7 maande oud, ek nog eens praat nie. Jy kan al 2 tale praat. Hier is vol alcohol, hoor. Sien fucking swaar is hy.
Van is hier, hy donker kom. Net.
Ja, so ja.
Dit kost dus.
Dit is allemaal ook niet.
Hier zo dippie aan, hier wel een week lekker warm.
Je moet hier eens een white angle zien. Hij weet niet of hij...
Nee, joh.
Hij?
Hij heeft nooit gekomen. Nee, je moet
Does he talk?
Nee, dat is het ook. Maar wie krijgt die piece? Dat kan niet, man.
You can talk, but you won't understand. Because you Americans only one language.
Nee. Die Amerikaners verstaan baie Engelse tale, want jy het vandag nie net Engels gepraat nie. Fanny, Janssen House.
Sy koud. Wat sê jy vir my? Waar gaan ons nou?
Hy weet wat ons gevat het, nie daai kant. Dis maar daar.
I think, yeah.
Kom daar groot boom.
Let's go and shoot some buffalo.
Nee, sy is af.
Nee, dis skoon raspberry. Skoon raspberry. Met 'n bietjie ram.
Met 'n bietjie ram.
Ek sien hom ja. Ons gaan nie weer
Ons is nou.
Hierdie ding is so groot. Hierdie ding is 'n hol dan val hy dan val dit.
Kies van 'n spitte daar.
I'm saying the guys in the States don't do this, eh? Fuck it.
Hunt like this?
No, drink like this.
No, this is an important part of hunting all over the world.
Gaan nie af. Links. Stop jouself. Stop.
They listen to the engine noise, you know. Yeah. And they stay behind. And they listen to the engine noise and
Distract him,
yeah.
Yeah.
Normally.
Why not just turn off the car right there?
And then they see the car there. They get off here, and then the car is here as well. You have to go just a bit.
Get away.
Get away.
And they're still looking towards you, and then the other hunters going that way, and they're not looking to them, towards them.
Ons lag gekry toe stop hy daar, toe ry ons verby. En is hier een.
As hy koei met die kalf.
Binne in, glo jy.
Sy koei met die
Ons
kalf.
het gesien toe ons afdraai, sy het hom ry verby want toe bly hy.
It was a huge relief to realize that no buffalo would be killed, and that most of the guys weren't even here to hunt. It made me feel the same way I do about weddings. It's so fun to get together with friends. Why do we need a stupid reason?
It means your mother's bush. In Afrikaans. You know what a bush is?
Sure.
Okay. In Afrikaans it is your mother's bush.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that what? Okay.
He's also a bush.
So slim. I'm not drunk.
I'm fucking drunk.
So it's
A huge accident, motorcar accident, and they had to cut off his arms here, both of them, so I haven't got arms. But there's a new technology, bionic. They give him bionic hands, arms. But it's sound activated, you know. Okay. But you can't tell this bloody joke in English. Because it's Afrikaans joke.
Dis half wat besig.
Dink nog wat is masturbeer in Engels?
Masturbate.
Okay. So
the dog's always that dirty.
Dogs.
Okay. Left arm, please take a beer and one sip. And he thought he's nice. And he said to him, he went to the table, he said, please hands, I want to eat with a fork and a knife, please. And that's eating very nicely. He's very impressive, but he was a long time in hospital, about a month, you know. He said, and pull my wire. Fuck off. You don't want to do that. He said, please man, please help me out. Fuck off. Now it's disgusting. He found the doctor. He said to him, listen here, everything works nice, but you said I must talk nicely to him, and I did, but nothing happened. Yeah. He said to me, what do you want? I said, no, I tell him, pull my wire and it doesn't work.
Julle reg? Ja, nee, bloujob. Wat het jy gesien? Ja.
Agterkop gewees.
Ja, maar het so skynsvoortoe.
O, skynsvoortoe.
Wat het met daai
Ja. Kon nie nog so maar, daar's 'n hou in die boom ook.
Ja. Toe hy skiet toe hard op tyd. Skiet uit, dis goed. Skiet uit. Vat hierdie boom.
Jy moet daai manne sê.
There she goes. Sorry.
So what do you do now?
Ek het daai wel eens klapstap, ja.
Kyk hier so. Ah, nee, like this. Dit is definitief van my kant. It's a TB buffalo, so it's infected with TB. So you can't use the meat.
Is that right?
Yeah. So they say some of the folk here eat it. Once it's cooked, you can't do anything to a human. But I mean, it's not worth taking a chance.
The guys who work here, though, you think, take steaks?
If they cook it, yeah, they'll most probably do something with it.
It's interesting how often I hear people complain about the work ethic of Africans, when it seems as if every service depends upon their labor.
The first thing is I don't really want to work.
Do you think?
Oh, I think, I know.
They give them good land and some help and everything. But that's not what they wanted, because then you have to do it himself.
There is something peculiar about a retired yachtsman or vacationing hunters commiserating with a backpacker about people who don't want to work. But these are very old arguments, and if the comparison works both ways, it's fair to predict that they won't be put to rest anytime soon. The old government always warned that majority rule would result in an orgy of crime, and some people insist that that's coming to fruition now, because to admit otherwise would mean that their whole justification was false. But the only way you could believe that things were better then is if you don't know enough about it, or you benefited, or you're a fool.
The apartheid wasn't that bad. It used to be very bad, that you couldn't go on the same lifts, and Indians had it hard too. But the country was safe.
Nostalgia for apartheid would be impossible if you'd been a victim of it, or related to one. But then, Jay's brother was a victim of post-apartheid crime, and so that's the problem as far as he's concerned. Before I left, I told Faunus that he'd given me a real gift, and I meant it. The gift was not the incredible hospitality they'd shown me, although I appreciated that. The gift was that, as much as we may disagree, I liked them, and I couldn't vilify them. It wasn't as if the Boers lacked humanity. They had it in abundance. It's that they failed to extend it to everyone. It's always tempting to reduce people to caricature. We want to mount them in a certain position so that they can't defy our expectations, or surprise us, or charge us. But I think people are so much more interesting with their skin on, running wild, in all their confounding complexity. And it would be a shame if we were too afraid to meet them where they live.
this warthog, like a big warthog.
Yeah. Pumbaa.
Pumbaa. Yeah, Pumbaa. You know Pumbaa in that cartoon?
The Lion King?
Lion King?
Pumbaa. That's a warthog. He shot that thing, ne? Yeah. All the kids watch that thing, he shot it.